So I'm starting a new project today. It's going to be kind of a big project. I'm getting rid of the old entertainment center that we've been using for about 15 years now, and I'm going to fill the space that's about 150 inches wide, 95 inches tall with built-in cabinets. I'm actually going to build 6 cabinets, 3 for the top and 3 for the bottom, and then I'll put them together in the space that they're going into, and that'll make this a lot more manageable to build here in my small shop. Now this built-in is really going to brighten up our living room space. It's going to be painted the color of our trim and the same color that the upper cabinets in our kitchen are, which is a shade of white as opposed to that dark cabinet we have in there now. Let me quickly show you the plan I came up with. All right guys, I'm a pencil and paper kind of guy, so here's what I came up with. I'll do 3 cabinets on the top. These 2 on the side will be the same, and then this one will be a little smaller to go above the TV. And then I'll also do 3 cabinets on the bottom. Again, the 2 on the ends will be the same, and then this middle one will have some drawers and doors in it. And then the top of these 3 cabinets is either going to be wood or granite. Haven't really decided yet. And the upper cabinets will be 16 inches deep, and the lowers will be 23 inches deep. And then I go through that drawing I just showed you, and I write down all the pieces I need to build those cabinets and the sizes they need to be. And these sizes are exact to build the cabinet size I want to build. I take into account any rabbits or dados or anything like that. And I write everything down, and then I put it into an app I have called Cut List Optimizer. You tell Cut List Optimizer the size of each piece and how many of those pieces you need and the size of your stock sheets, and it will lay out a cut list for you. And if you follow this cut list that it provides, it gives you the most efficient use of your stock material. So I know to build my carcasses, I need 5 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood and 3 sheets of 1/4 inch plywood, and it even takes into account the kerf of the blade. So with my plan and my cut list all figured out, I'm off to the lumber store to pick up some plywood. And to get the plywood broken down into the rough sizes, or even sometimes their final dimensions, I really like using my track saw. I throw a sheet of foam insulation on top of my table saw and outfeed table, put the plywood on top of that, and then use the track saw to break it down. I found that this is safer and easier than trying to run a full sheet of plywood through my table saw. The track saw is a very versatile and mobile tool. This 7 1/4 inch saw from Win has worked pretty well for me. It gets the job done, but recently I was able to demo the Festool track saw, and it is super nice. I would really like to get one of those someday. Alright guys, let me quickly show you how I use this cut list. Again, this is a free app on my phone. It's called Cut List Optimizer. You put in all your stuff and it lays out all your cuts you need in the most efficient way possible. So this is the sheet I just did. As I cut the pieces, I mark them off on the sheet. I also label the piece so I know what goes where. So this is the sheet I'm doing next. These 3 pieces here are 23 inches wide. These 2 pieces are also 23 inches wide. And you probably can't see it, but right in here it tells you that I have 2 inches of leftover material here. And again, this is just breaking down the sheet, so these are rough cuts. So all I'm going to do, I'll just rip this sheet right down the middle with my track saw. Then I'll come back and I'll make these cross cuts to get the individual pieces I need. And again, you can see here on the end, I'll have some waste material. I got about 3.5 inches of waste here and about 3 1/4 inches of waste here. So I'll cut these, make these cross cuts so these pieces are a little oversized. And then later on my table saw, I will cut them to their precise final dimensions. Then I have another page for 2 other sheets of 3/4 inch plywood, and I just go through, and then this is the last piece of 3/4, and then I have a couple pieces of 1/4 inch that will be the backs of my boxes. So these sheets help me keep track of all my pieces, make sure I cut everything I need, and they also allow me to know whether or not I have enough material to build the project I'm working on. So I have 7 more sheets of plywood to break down, so let's get back to it. So I got all my pieces cut to their rough sizes, and I started cutting everything to its final dimensions when I made a mistake. I had set up my table saw to make a cut for the top middle cabinet vertical support. I grabbed this piece of plywood, started pushing it through the table saw, and realized this piece was rough cut for the bottom middle cabinet vertical support. So this piece was supposed to be 21 inches wide. I was cutting it at 16. I was about halfway through the cut when I realized my mistake. So I just finished the cut. I got my doweling jig out and I put some dowels in this and glued it back together to make it one panel again. So I always try to rough cut all my pieces at least a 1/2 inch bigger than they need to be in all dimensions. So even removing the kerf in that and gluing it back together, I'll still have enough material here to get the piece I need. And once this is sanded up and painted and in the cabinet, no one will ever know this mistake is here. Now this was a pretty easy fix, but it's a good reminder that you're going to make mistakes. It's not the end of the world. If you just think about it for a second, generally you can figure out a way to fix them and move on with your project. Speaking of moving on, I have a few more pieces I have to cut down to their final dimensions, so I'm going to get back to it. Alright guys, here's all the pieces cut to their final dimensions to build the carcasses for my cabinets. And the carcass is just the basic box itself. It doesn't include the face frames or the doors or the drawers. My plan is to get the carcasses all assembled and painted and installed in the house. And once they're installed and all set exactly where they're going to go, I'll build the face frames in place and then work on the doors and the drawers. And the joinery to build these carcasses will be a combination of pocket holes, dados, and dowels. The cabinet's location will really determine which method I use. If the joint's going to be hidden, I'll go ahead and use pocket screws because they're quick, easy, and strong. But if there's a chance of someone seeing the pocket screws, of course I'll use dowels there. That way I can hide the joint. So that's a pretty good start on the built-ins. Remember, if you're doing a project like this, whether you do it on pencil and paper like I do, or you use some kind of software like SketchUp, make yourself a good plan. It's really going to help you keep track of everything and avoid mistakes. Also, having a good plan in place helps you make an accurate and complete cut list. So the next step for these cabinets is to lay out all my joinery. I like to lay everything out actually on the pieces in pencil so I know exactly where everything's going so I don't cut or drill in the wrong place. So stay tuned for the next video when we do the layout and start assembling these cabinets. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Hope you're enjoying your shop today, and I'll see you next time.